And we back, y'all. Hey guys, welcome to my channel, Watch Your Mouth Reviews. This is your boy James, where I am here to give my honest review while trying to wash my mouth. And it's not gonna happen in this video, but that's all right. We will live to fight another day. Joining me is my co-host, Mrs. Best. Y'all say what's up to her.
Hello, everybody. Like, share, and subscribe. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for being here, and we want you guys to please subscribe to Mrs. Best channel because any recaps or reviews that I don't cover on my channel, it's because we're on her channel. We have Basketball Wives in the Valley on her channel currently. We are going to be having Real Housewives of Miami on her channel. Lots of good things coming up. So we definitely want you guys to go to her channel, subscribe, especially if you love those TV shows. Get our opinions and our views, right?
Please.
And we want to also subscribe to Shana_MCD's channel. We are promoting her channel. She is covering this show as well as Never Ever Met here live on YouTube. Her content is great. We love Shana. She is one of the first YouTubers to ever really embrace me and also help my subscriber count. And speaking of subscriber count, I want to thank all the newbies. I got 5 newbies from the last time we did videos, which was yesterday. So welcome to my channel.
That's exciting.
Yes, I'm excited. I'm glad that you guys enjoyed yourselves watching the replay. Thank you so much. We hope to see you here live one day so that way we can meet you in person and get to know you because we know a lot of our subscribers. So we want to make sure we know you as well. So now, let's get into Real Housewives of Atlanta, or should I say Real Housewives of Portia and Shamia, because that's all this episode was about, was Portia and Shamia and their friendship. And me and Mrs. Best talked about this because I felt 2 different ways about this than I thought I would. So we're going to describe this episode, and me and Mrs. Best are going to have a discussion on where we stand with this friendship. So the episode starts off with Kelly. She is in the kitchen cooking for her children. And she has her oldest daughter stressing about her grades or everything because apparently the father, not her ex-husband, but their oldest daughter's father, is on her about her grades. And she said, don't worry about your daddy. He's just stressing out about it. Don't worry about it. And Kelly is encouraging her daughter to get a job because, you know, she wants her to have some work ethic behind her as well. And Kelly's daughter said, I don't want to get a job. I don't want to be like you. I mean, you're older. You're doing the mom thing and everything. She goes, yeah, but you can have a job as well. And then one of them, that middle daughter, she's something else. I said, Kelly, you're going to have to watch her because she was mean. I said, damn. She was shading Kelly. She was shading the other baby that handed her the plate. I'm like, and even Kelly said, oh, I don't have no energy for Chance today. I said, Kelly, that's a damn shame. You letting that little girl run your household like that, where you even out your own mouth was saying, I don't have energy for her today. Damn. I'm looking at what the hell's going on there, ma'am? So that was pretty much all that happened with that scene. We learned that Kelly's townhouse, you know, is too small for her and her 4 girls, so she needs to get a bigger space. We learned that she did win the house in her divorce settlement, so the judges asked her to please sell the house. So she's definitely going to go ahead and sell, and then her plan is to buy a house where everybody has their own quarters in the room and everything. So I thought that was a nice little segue opening. How did you feel about Kelly seeing Mrs. Best?
It was what it was. Kelly's life is interesting, just with her kids, the money. She's a very present parent in addition to being busy at New Money. I feel like Kelly could have had a reality show on her own somewhere like WeTV or something, but I still don't fully feel like Kelly fits the mold for Housewives, but the scene was what it was.
What do you think she's missing?
She's very youthful. It doesn't match with what I would view Housewives as.
Okay.
She doesn't align with it. I see her more so doing stuff, having fun. Like, she's clearly elite. She's clearly a socialite, but not in the way that a housewife would be. They need to go back to hiring actual housewives. And that is no shade towards Kelly, but they behave a little differently, and it makes the shade a little funner and a different dynamic of it. Kelly just behaving like everybody that we see on other reality shows across the, television network. So that's all. I don't dislike her, but I don't love her.
I don't dislike Kelly either, but it's just something about it that does not match. But we'll talk more about that when she meets with Angela a little bit later. So then the next scene we go ahead and see is Shamia meets with Ralph, which I thought was the oddest scene of all of the scenes that we've had on Housewives so far. But her meeting with Ralph, Ralph has this idea to actually start a podcast. He wants to call it Kings and Queens, where he's mixing kind of like Family Feud with Battle of the Sexes. So I'm like, okay, so you're just gonna have a questionnaire show and get men's opinion versus women's opinion. Okay, got it, Ralph. I mean, there's a podcast like that already, but okay, no, nonetheless, happy to hear that you want to do something like that. And he wants Shamia to go ahead and co-anchor this with him, and I feel like he needs to, you know, networking and everything because Shamia is well connected in networking, so I'm sure that that's where this is coming from. And Shamia, once they talk about the business, she wants to get the meat and potatoes out of the way because she said that she knows Ralph through his wife, and she doesn't want any crap with them because overall, she doesn't have any problem with Drew, but she don't want no shit. And I don't blame Shamia, but what makes this dinner even more awkward, because as I said, it's an awkward scene, is Portia shows up. And I'm like, oh, y'all playing. Y'all are playing with us. Y'all are playing because ain't no way you just randomly inviting Portia to dinner. She don't know that Ralph is there with you, and yeah, y'all are playing. So Portia sits down and she talks to Ralph about everything that's going on, and she said that are the rumors about you out here in the streets true? He goes, no. Okay, she said, good, because I want you to extend that same grace to Drew, because at the end of the day, there's rumors about her as well that may not be true. So you need to kind of give her the same grace that you want people to give you. And I actually commended Portia for saying it like that because that is true. I feel like, yeah, there may be rumors about Drew and Ty at one point. I think it was around that time that they were, whatever they were doing. But at the same time, Ralph, what you do in Tampa? Ralph, who is Courtney? So that's where, until you answer those questions, I don't really care what Drew does out in these streets. And pretty much they also touch base on how Drew's out here wilding with Dennis, and Portia is putting out here on the television screen that Drew's trying to slide up with Dennis, and she has text messages to prove it. And then the other issue that Portia has is what Shamia told her about, Drew saying that her music royalties will pay for PJ's college. But Portia worded it as like Drew's going to write the check for Pilar to go to college. And that's not how Drew said it. And Shamia said she was jokingly saying it, but it still rubbed me the wrong way. So at this point, this is where the rift starts, because then Portia kind of side-eyed Shamia a little bit, because Shamia made it seem like it was worse than what it actually was. And I'm not going to lie, y'all, it was bad of her to say that. It really was. But I don't think that it was an ill intent. At least I don't know. I could be wrong. So, Mrs. Best, how did you feel about this scene?
I don't know. It was kind of annoying because at the end of the day, it's still based on like a he said, she said thing. Personally, the way that Shamia painted it, she did paint it as if it was negative, but she didn't paint it as dramatic as it was being made to seem.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it was just, oh, this is what we have to talk about because we got rid of the one person, Kenya, who made the show interesting. That's how I felt. I didn't care.
You didn't care.
This season is terrible. It's terrible. We're not like, it's kind of good Kenya's gone because it's showing that a lot of these ladies do not hold enough individually to carry a show. They don't need to have individually enough to carry the show alone, but they should each be able to bring enough to the table that it makes the show interesting. And I'm not interested, with the exception of Angela, who seems to know how to handle everyone. I'm not interested. I'm so sorry.
So how do you feel about Shamia meeting with Ralph? Do you think that was
that bothered me? That pissed me off because here's the thing, Shamia, you've been complaining about Portia this whole season, right? Portia's been shading you, slighting you this whole season. You haven't said shit to Portia about it when you've had plenty of opportunity. If Shamia would have said something to Portia in the first episode when she showed up late to her birthday, I would have respected her for that. But she's not saying anything. Now you're doing Portia's dirty work by meeting up with Ralph, who is still in the same house as Drew and having a very messy divorce with small children involved. How does that match the alleged action that Portia feels like Drew did to her? That's just your baby daddy who you're not with, who you publicly cussed out, humiliated, and left to be with Simon. So it's very strange that they would feel that that's okay. That's why I say these women do not give housewives. Because a wife, I'm a wife, for those who don't know, a wife, I would never meet with anyone's spouse or ex without letting their my friend whoever know. That was kind of shady. So I didn't like that from either Portia or Shamia. But like I said, y'all, I've been saying birds of a feather flock together.
Yeah. Hi, Shani. Thank you for being here today, love. We appreciate you.
Hello.
I also thought it was kind of like this is why I said Drew didn't owe Portia anything because of this shit here. Even though this was spearheaded by Shamia, it doesn't matter because we're grouping them together as they want to be grouped together. And I feel like this was just as messy. You can't tell me that Portia didn't know she was meeting up with Ralph. I don't care what she said in that confessional. You knew that Ralph was going to be there, and this was your chance to stick it to him and kind of get on Drew's little, head because she got on yours. That's all that this was. That's all
Yep.
this. That's
Yep.
all this
And it
was.
was childish. Because you got to think these are both women well over the age of 35. These women is past grown and auntie status. There is no reason for y'all to be trying to get back at somebody who really hasn't done anything to get back at her. She made an album, she filmed something with him, and that's it. This is too much. They're bullies.
As I said, if this were Simon, I would have a difference of opinion. But this is this. You only share a child, and y'all, and I get, and a lot of y'all want to argue this semantic that oh no, it's a baby daddy still. She owes us girl code or whatever. As I said, this is business, and this is not her husband. I could see if it was her husband, then we would have a different conversation. Absolutely, Drew needed to run that to Portia, but for Dennis, no. I'm sorry, Dennis for the streets, so it don't matter to me. Like that, that doesn't mean anything. And you didn't give Drew the heads up. You met up with Ralph.
You were also done with Dennis prior, Portia. So it's like if you didn't claim to care what he had going on, now that you single, you suddenly care. Portia just wants her way the way she wants it. And it's not okay. It's
And that,
just
and
not.
yeah, that you said it perfectly because that's how this whole episode played out. So we're gonna move it on along because that's all that really happened. They didn't really touch base on too much other than Drew and then this business venture that I don't believe will happen, but you never know. The next scene we have is Angela. She is at one of her rental properties. Now, Angela let us know once again she has five investment properties that she is currently renovating on all five, and she also let us know that she is $2 million in debt behind these five properties. Which I understand that business. That's actually not a lot, even though it is a lot to regular people who are not in real estate development. $2 million is not a lot of money to be in debt in because that easily can go away in a month. So I feel like, I'm glad that she makes it aware because I knew somebody in real estate that was $7 million and had only 12 properties. And I was like, God damn. Like, but he said, no, I'm going to flip this. I never stayed around long enough to know if he did flip it or not. But yeah, that wasn't that big of a shock to me. Actually, it's very common. Um, as she is, going through, putting sticky notes on all the things that need to be purchased for the home, Kelly drops by. And Kelly, and Angela is slick, but not slick. Because Angela's like, I want Kelly to look at this house and, see if she can see herself in it and stuff. And then we're gonna have just this messy conversation, that leads to that. And I say, Angela, look at you being messy and trying to get a sale. I see you, girl. I see you. Shani said in the comment, didn't see Drew talking bad about Portia or Ralph. She was working with Dennis. They fell at the table. They were. Absolutely. So she's showing her around the house, and the house is not complete. There was no water in the pool. The kitchen had no appliances. The owner's suite didn't have a ready to go closet yet, which I feel like that was just a random space in the house. I don't know why that space was there because that didn't give me that was the closet. That gave me that's just some random space they didn't know what to do with. So they made it like into like maybe a little corner space for her office. Um, was that closet a towel closet? It was crazy small. No, I feel like it was just a random office space. Like, so you know how some people will have office spaces in their house and like a random like little corner room, or maybe that was a storage closet for like luggage, but that was not no closet. I know that wasn't the closet to that bedroom. I know it wasn't. From there, Angela is talking, to Kelly because she wanted to confront her about Kelly screaming out loud, "What about that baby, though?" And Kelly is immediately remorseful. And so Angela shares the story of how that rumor even came about. So Charles Oakley was hosting something with Wendy Williams. And it was right around the time that, that thing with Kelvin and, the old girl and him having that baby on Wendy. That was around that same time. And so Wendy was kind of, hearing the news and getting frustrated. So Angela came to her as a woman and said, "Hey, look, it's only a baby. It's not that big of a deal." So Wendy said, "Have you ever been through that?" And she said, "Yes." Now, what Angela did not do in the moment was clarify that it was her first husband and not Charles. Because like, apparently her first husband, which is the oldest daughter's father, had a baby on her. But because she didn't specify, that rumor grew wings and now it's continuously haunting her. And because Charles is nonchalant and does not really care about rumors about him, it still in segue affects her. And then from that point, she also expounded on the whole what is it, the Barclays Center where he had got into it with the owner. I think that was where it was the convention center. She said that there was also infidelity, which me and Mrs. Best called. If you go to episode 1, we said it ain't no way in hell you was mad at him just because of some shit he did. There had to have been more. And she had finally confirmed that yes, there was some infidelity in their marriage where she did have to separate from him. And from there, they were able to work it out and still be there. But I just felt like I knew Angela was full of shit. I just knew she was because that didn't make any sense to me. So before we move on to their conversation about Portia and Shamia, Mrs. Best, how did you feel about Angela opening it up to Kelly?
Wrong person to open up to. Kelly, at first in the beginning of the season, I was like, I love this. Call Portia out. But now I'm like, okay, you're sporadically calling out Angela, asking about the baby. Portia breaking up a marriage or taking a man from a friend is much different than hollering out somebody's kid is a baby that was made in wedlock. So I just I don't like how Kelly's been moving. She is literally wherever the wind blows. As for Angela, lower the price of that damn house. You are not in California, Angela. If you want to do that, come to Oakland, California, where I'm at. And you could probably get away with selling the shack for a couple $1,000,000. But in Georgia, Angela, stop it. Um, I don't really have much to say about this scene either. The more she talks about her husband, the more she digs a hole. Outside of her relationship, I actually really like her for the show. So I'll leave it there.
I like her for the show as well because I think she gets the girls together, but I feel like there's lots of things in her stories that have a lot of holes in them. And as she goes on, she's clearing them up. But I feel like now what else are you lying about? Because now you didn't have to lie about that. You didn't have to say anything. I don't know if she was married before Charles or not. I don't know. And even still,
I
she
think it's all making us pay less attention to the fact that based on what we got from that scene with her and her daughter a couple episodes ago when they discussed her daughter's marriage, there's definitely something with Angela that she is hiding. And it kind of reminds me of Nene in some ways. Nene was loved by so many people on Bravo and made the show, but looking at how she was behind the scenes as a parent sometimes made you want to question it. So Angela kind of does the same thing a little bit. I forgot Angela.
yeah, I can see that. But I just feel like for me, the more that she tries to make the stories seem like they're not true and the more she wants the women to kind of expound on the issues of there, it just makes me feel like you're not hiding well the situations you don't want exposed. You actually are making them more apparent that there is something there. So I just want her to really get a better handle on that if she really wants to just dead all these situations of rumors with her husband. Now, moving forward from there, they then talk about Portia and Shamia and this whole situation of Angela being upset with Shamia because, in terms, when Portia made her comment about, wanting to fuck Charles, and she claimed Shamia just laughed at it. She feels like Shamia enables Portia's behavior, and she feels like when it comes to Portia having Shamia's back, it's not reciprocated in that same way. And she feels like Shamia takes a lot of the daggers for Portia, which I do agree with. I'm not saying that that's not true because that absolutely is true. And she lets Kelly know that after the event, which I'm gonna call bullshit on this because I did not see Shamia leave with Angela. Shamia left with Portia, so this must have happened later on. But she said that she went to dinner, her, Drew, and Shamia, and they were talking. And she said that Shamia was really, really upset about Portia, taking away the spotlight of Shamia sharing her song with the other ladies. And I do believe that. I do believe that that was a gripe with Shamia, that Portia was kind of shitting on her song or whatever. And she just said that, Shamia definitely feels like, Portia is not really being the same friend to her as Shamia is being to Portia. Now, I feel like this. Before I get Mrs. Best's opinion, I feel like this. I feel like at this point in moment, I feel like Shamia was wrong for telling someone who she really does not know and actually has gone back and forth with this entire time that this show has been airing. I don't feel like that was right of Shamia to expound on that kind of information. That shit, that's pillow talk for your husband. That's not pillow talk for Angela and then Drew, especially knowing that Drew is on the outs with Portia. That's only giving Drew more ammunition for Portia. So I feel like in that instance, Shamia was wrong for expressing how she feels to those two individuals altogether. I could see if it was somebody else that they had a mutual bond with. But the fact that you did that, I kind of looked at Shamia side eye. So, Mrs. Betts, how did you feel about Angela speaking on Portia Shamia's friendship, and do you think Shamia was wrong for confiding in Angela about that?
You got to understand that when you're getting to know people, you can't just confide in them about everything. Even people you're friends with, you can't confide in about everything. So Shamia keeps confiding in different people about her little gripes and issues with Portia instead of going to the source. Separate from friendship, if you got a problem with someone, go to that person. Stop talking about it with everybody but them. So she's wrong in that instant. I do understand where she's coming from with the behavior, but Shamia has not confronted Portia yet on any of her complaints. If she had confronted Portia, then it'd be different. It's like, okay, talk about it with everyone else on the cast because they have to deal with it. But because she hadn't confronted Portia yet, regardless on how I feel about Portia, they known each other long enough to where she should have went to Portia first instead of everybody else. But they both messy bitches. So
I agree. Yeah, I agree. And for me, I just feel like I wouldn't have went to Angela Oakley. I'm sorry. I just wouldn't have. That'd be the last person I would have went to if I really had a problem like that. But moving on from that scene, where am I going here? Out there? Sorry, y'all. I closed my phone for 2 seconds. Um, trying to figure out these notes here. So we then move on to this is why I closed my phone because we talked about Brit Edie. So Brie Edie and her husband are in the kitchen, and they're talking about the dynamic with her mom moving in with them. And at this point, I had thought the mom already moved in with them because I'm remembering the first episode, but then I forgot. No, the mama just sold her house, and now she's officially about to move in with them. And so they're talking about, how that's going to happen, how that's going to work, because they're a couple that, walk around the house naked and everything. So I'm just like, there's some things I did not need to know, but okay. And then they also talk about her sister, Cher, and how Cher is really feeling like Britt is not available like she used to be before marrying Mike. And Mike puts it on thick that he did not cause a rift between them. And I think it's natural for family members to feel like it's the spouse that causes the person to always not be available anymore. I think that that's a natural inkling that people have. So I'm going to put a pin in this really quickly because I don't want to talk about Brady too much. But I feel like we need to stop doing that. I feel like we need to stop putting the absence of your family member on their spouse because 9 out of 10, it's not the spouse. It is me. I'm sorry. I'm going to speak for myself. It is me. I don't want to leave my husband. Not at any point. Not, when I go to work, not when I go to the grocery store, not when I go to Walmart, not when I go anywhere. I don't want to leave him. That's just me. I want to spend as much time as I can with my spouse. So I feel like family members always doing that. You just want a reason because they were always available to you, and you feel like because they're not doing that anymore, now they got married, you automatically want to blame the spouse. And I feel like that was wrong. I feel like that was extremely wrong of her to even put that in perspective. And I know that it's something as a society we do. So, Mrs. Best, as another married person, I would like you to speak on this. Have you ever been in a situation where family members have blamed your spouse for your absence and things that you may regularly have done?
Oh yeah, friends and family. Friends would do that shit too. I think it goes both ways though. The same way family should not blame the spouse for some the actions of the family member, the family member should also be holding their family accountable and keeping them in their place as it relates to the marriage. And that's what a lot of people tend to forget. We pay attention, oh, the family's acting this way, oh, mother-in-law is so bad. But then you don't look at, well, why is the spouse letting the mama treat you like that? Why hasn't the spouse cut it off? So I think that's a piece of it. But eh, I don't know. I I don't feel like this is real with these people. I'm so sorry. I don't. Britt's husband, to me, I think he's gay. That's my personal opinion. It is not something I'm saying for fact. Call it alleged so you don't come for James. I think that man is gay from the way that he moves, the way that he operates. Um, and there are a lot of people, like I have a friend who's gay, I won't put his name on here, who has a similar arrangement with a woman who he ended up having a baby with, who was a good friend, because they didn't know if they would end up together or anything like that. But I'm just annoyed with it. I don't care enough about Brit to care about the negative family dynamic that she has, but everything they say just seems extra to make me feel like they're disingenuous. Like, for instance, most couples aren't like, we walk around naked most of the time. I sleep naked every night. My husband would be hardly ever in clothes, but that's not something I'm just going to like say to people. It's almost like they're trying to make it seem like they're just so close and do everything together. And I just don't buy it in that way. So it's very hard for me to have a fair opinion. I'm sorry.
I mean, well, that's good. I mean, in terms, I just feel like I don't like when people do, when family members especially do that, because it's like, do you ever stop to think that maybe it's not the other person, that maybe it is? Like, because I think it's Brit. I do. I think Brit doesn't want to be around her family. I think that that's really what it is. I feel like when her father passed, that drew a wedge because of, maybe hiding emotions, maybe family members are not, doing the same, maybe they're not feeling the same. And then also there was, um a circumstance of like her selling her business and that drew a wedge between her and her sister. So that's there too. I just don't feel like it's fair to put that all on Mike. That's all I'm saying. I don't feel like that's fair because you never know.
It's not fair to put it on Mike at all because it shouldn't go onto the spouse. However, it's very hard for me to have an opinion on this because we don't know the full story. We only know what Britt and Mike have told us, and they have both been proven to be liars on show, off the show, and in more ways than one. So, and Cher doesn't seem like the type of person who would feel away for no reason. And then we have to remember the other sister who doesn't want to film and doesn't really want to be around family. Why is she not wanting to deal with any of them? So I think there's definitely more to the story that we may not understand. Um, but the way Britt is telling her story, from what I get, you wasn't fucking with your family like that. You got on this show and now you gotta fuck with your family like that because you don't have kids to show. I don't think she actually wants to have a baby with this man as of yet, because if so, where is it? Why hasn't this happened? So I don't know. Your family should stay out your business, but Brit full of shit.
I can agree with that. I think she's full of shit. I don't know what she's full of shit about, but it's definitely given that. So we move on to the next scene. We have Portia meeting at Angela's rental property. Angela said that because of the comment that Portia made about wanting to fuck her husband, she will in no way, shape, or form ever invite Portia to her home. So she's going to meet Portia at her rental property. I said, well, then, Angela, what's the point of you meeting with Portia at all? Because to me, obviously, you still feel a way about that comment. So why even meet with her at all? Like, why even waste your time? That's how I know you messy. But anyways, she meets up with Portia at her rental property, and they start playing tennis. It was a cute little fun thing, and Angela kind of sits her down. Um, I wouldn't meet with her at all. If I really felt this way about her, and after that disrespectful comment, I would have nothing for Portia. But Portia did apologize, so they were able to move forward from there. So Portia sits her down, and Portia says that she's expecting a phone call because she's having her pamper with Portia. Remember, Portia sells sheets, so she's having an event for that, and she did invite Angela, and Angela said, "Well, I really would like you to try to make amends with Drew." And she says, "I have no problem with Drew. Like it is what it is, and she will be there." So that's that. And then she talks about her and Shamia. And she tells Portia that Shamia kind of confided in her in some things about, what was said. And, they first talk about the whole Drew saying that she would pay for Pilar's college. Now, remember, Angela was there, and Angela did not remember it the same way Shamia remembered it. And so the producers played it back for us. And here's the thing, the way Angela said it, that's not how Drew said it. I'm gonna just go ahead and put it on thick right now. The way that, because Angela said that Drew said she will contribute, like the royalty should be able to contribute to Polaris College or whatever. That's not how Drew said it either. I don't. So I feel like the way Drew said it, it was somewhere in between Shamia saying it and Angela saying it. It was somewhere in between there because it wasn't as offensive as Shamia was putting it out to be, and it wasn't as innocent as Angela tried to make it seem. So I feel like it's somewhere in the middle. Mrs. Best, do you agree with that?
Yeah. I, first of all, this is exactly why you don't go and gossip about shit that other people said to other people with bad intentions. They both, in my opinion, had bad intentions. Shamia was trying to throw Angela under the bus, and Angela is trying to throw Shamia under the bus in this situation. However, what Drew said was shady. It was
Yeah,
shady. Don't
absolutely.
bring up paying for nobody's kids and their college or anything like that. Just leave kids out of it. I do not think that Drew spoke on Portia's child, and I know that Portia's going to try and spin it that way. However, to bring up her kid's college fund about something that she's already so sensitive about was shady.
No, it was definitely shady, but I just feel like for me, the way Shamia said it, it was way too thick, and the way Angela said it was way too innocent. I was like, no, it wasn't innocent, and it wasn't that thick. It was definitely offensive, but it wasn't, something like Drew was saying to be malicious. I think Drew was just saying it just to kind of say this is going to make her a lot of money, and then it's a lot of money. I think that that's where she was trying to get through. She just said it wrong, which is fine, but at the end of the day, yeah, she shouldn't have mentioned the baby, not at all. So this segue then puts Shamia and Portia's friendship in question to Angela, because Angela brought back to Portia some of the things of how Shamia felt. And Shamia had felt that, that the friendship was one sided, in which it is. I'm not disagreeing with what Angela was saying. I just don't like that Angela was the one that said it. I think it was the right message, wrong messenger. Because as I said, I feel like Portia has been playing in Shamia's face. I do. I feel like it is one sided. I absolutely do. But at the same time, as much blame I want to give Portia, I have to give it to Shamia too. Because once again, Shamia, you don't have to do all of this. Let Portia sink. Just be there to pick her back up when she does sink. But don't sit up there and try to prevent her from falling. I just feel like that's where Shamia is, out of touch. So when people bring it back to you in a way where you're Portia's lapdog or you always stick up for Portia even when she's wrong, it's because you do. It's because you do. And it's so pathetic to me because it's like I get you love her as a sister, but at the same time, that's not your battle. That's not your fight. That's not for you to take the bullet for her. It's not. So when Angela was sticking to Portia, all of the things that Shamia felt uncomfortable, she brought up the song, she brought up her wedding, she brought up a lot of the things of where she feels like Portia has not shown up for her in a supportive best friend role. And so for me, when Portia put that fan and started crying, I said, "Now, Portia, this is where I'm gonna get on Portia. What the hell are you crying for? What are you crying for? Why are you this emotional?"
Because Portia is not used to people going against her who are in her inner circle, in my opinion, since she attained all this fame. Separate from that, I think she also realizes, damn, that's true. Because a lot of it is true and a lot of it is inexcusable. When she missed Shamia's wedding, this was a time that Portia had been on Housewives, had great success, was doing that morning show with the Brat and Ricky Smiley. I'm just looking at it like you could have made that wedding if you wanted to. I'm just saying, like, if anybody you cares about, it doesn't have to be a best friend. If somebody you cares about is getting married and you have an invite, and this is a person who's been there for you, be there. James is getting married. I'm gonna be there. I don't understand how you could call yourself someone's friend and not want to be there for an important moment, especially after knowing that Shamia dealt with the domestic violence stuff. So I think Portia cries when she doesn't get her way, kind of like a big ass kid, because she knows, damn, I look bad. Oh, now she's speaking out on this. I also don't think she does well with accountability at all. But at the same time, it's like, bitch, stop crying. If you treat people like shit, don't be surprised and cry when they speak about their disappointment of you. Because Shamia said nothing about her character. She didn't say she's a bad person. All she said was she has let me down and I continue to defend her. But I do wish Shamia would just stop speaking for Portia, stop defending Portia, and just do you, especially if you keep acknowledging that she does not reciprocate the loyalty. It's like, fix it, Shamia. Come on, girl.
Yeah. So I want to say hey to Naya. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you. I'm glad y'all are saying what's up to each other in the chat. She's Portia's champion without any payoff. Absolutely. When she pulled that fan out, I just started singing Rhythm Fans. Oh, Shani. She's not used to being checked for being a bad friend. She skates around it for years. No, it's just because people are afraid to hold her accountable for her being a bad friend. Because I do think that Portia makes the friendship center around her. So everyone has to show up for the center, but the center doesn't have to reciprocate the circle. That's basically what friendship is to Portia. And I feel like that's where I don't know how it got this way because I don't believe Portia was like that in the beginning. I think that Portia got like this when she got to get her when her head got big from her being famous on Real Housewives of Atlanta, and like Mrs. Best said, her getting all those other jobs. I think that that's when Portia started to shift because I don't remember Portia in her first season really being this obnoxious and so self-centered.
No, she was.
Was
She
she?
was. She was very much so. We just couldn't see it because Cordell was so busy treating her like shit. But this man already had kids. She was begging him to have a baby. Then she's wanting him to be respected, but then also painting him as something negative. Her mama was a professional groupie. Like I think Portia was trained to look at relationships for convenience versus the authenticity of what, being with somebody that you care about can bring, and that's her biggest downfall. But she's always kind of been about herself. It's just as she got more fame, she was able to show it more. But I think she's always been this way.
I'm trying to remember. I'm really trying to remember what Portia was like because I don't remember past season 7. I don't remember Portia. I don't. I don't remember her at all. Um, Season 7 when she started to change is when I really started to see her. So that's where I'm kind of like, I don't know. I can understand what you're saying to some extent, but I just feel like I just don't remember that being the situation. It is very high school behavior. It is. It's the girl who wants to be the popular girl because she never was. And then you have her sidekick, Gretchen Wieners, aka Shamia, next to her, and just trying to make sure she always stays on the right side. And it's like, I want Shamia to stop because Shamia really could have been in the center and kept and left Portia behind. She really could have, but
Of
that's not
course, she
information.
knows. She gets scared too because I think she knows, no shade, she's not interesting. The only reason she was interesting when she came on her first season to the show was because she had an issue with Kenya. If she didn't have an issue with Kenya, we wouldn't have cared and she would have floated in the background. So I just want them to fix this show or let it go. It's okay to let things die. It's okay.
Yeah, but Portia is visibly upset. Angela felt bad. She said, "Damn, this girl really is sad about this." And I'm like, Angela, she is playing you because she's not sad about the fact that she did something to make Shamia feel bad. She's mad that something that she didn't in regards to Shamia. Don't let that shit fool you. We know Portia. We know Portia ain't really sad about Shamia. She said that she got caught in dropping the ball in Shamia's friendship because she felt like she was a great friend to Shamia. But I don't know how she would think that. But okay. But we move on. It's Portia's event, her pamper event. Everyone's arriving there. We saw that Kelly and Britt arrived together. Angela shows up first. They have little lingerie sets for them to take pictures for Portia's little sheet set. Her cousin Londi, who recently passed away, rest in peace, Londi. It was really sad to watch that. I remember her from Portia's special. She actually was the cousin I actually did like compared to some of the other ones. But it ended up being a very Portia actually did a really good job. I did like the aesthetic. Everyone was trying to flirt with this one waiter who I know is not straight, but it is what it is. Allegedly, I'm not gonna put his business out there because I don't know if he outed himself, but allegedly, it was funny to watch though. As everyone's getting there, like Portia has them doing a photo shoot, and Drew had the question I had. Are they ambassadors? Are you having to put them on that Instagram to get people to buy this? Portia, what is you doing? We all have these questions because I wouldn't have taken a picture until I knew I had a contract because I know you're doing this for business. So it was a sneak attack, Portia. We see you. We see you. So Portia, Kelly takes Shamia to the side and tells her about the conversation she had with Angela and then the conversation she later had with Angela and Drew. And basically, it was to ignite that when she met up with Angela, they had an initial conversation first, and then Angela met up with Portia. And basically, after that conversation with Portia, she was saying that, Shamia confided that it was a one sided friendship, and Drew co signed it. Drew said, yes, Shamia is known as Portia's lapdog. That's how it's always been. And Shamia is pissed because, first off, why does Portia have a problem? Shamia has done nothing to Portia. And it's just crazy that Portia would believe Angela, considering that they just had a falling out. So it's like you don't believe your best friend of all these years, but you're going to believe some outsider saying that we have these issues or I have this problem. Now, here's my thing, Shamia. And once again, this is where I'm going to clock you. I do believe you told Angela that. I do. I do think you put your foot in your mouth when you did it because I don't think you intended to do it. But I do believe that you told Angela that information because where else would she have gotten that from? I mean, we can watch TV and pull apart the layers, but it's another thing to have the person right there actually giving you their side of the story. So I'm going to ask Mrs. Best this question because Shamia's response threw me off. Now, do you believe that Shamia told Angela that information, Mrs. Best?
Um, well, we watched her tell Angela the information in previous episodes, and she's been sprinkling little bits as her and Angela have gotten closer about Portia. Um, I think Shamia is naive to not catch on. Most people will just listen to you vent if they're listening without motive, or if they're solution oriented, they'll say you two need to talk. But Angela always asks a bunch of questions before getting to that, which shows that I think the women were looking for cracks in the foundation of their friendship. And this is why I don't like when like true close friends off of a show come onto a show together because there's going to be people to take advantage of that.
Yep.
But Shamia's been on TV long enough and in the limelight long enough to understand that. And so has Portia. So I think what we're seeing are two people who grew up together, were close friends, who grew apart and have been apart, who are now coming back on TV. And they probably tried to have a united front because the world knows them as a united front. But I genuinely don't think Portia and Shamia have been good for some time. But I do think it's foul of Angela to get involved. If you're not going to fix it, and if you don't understand it or each person well enough, or for long enough, then mind your fucking business and fix your nose. That's how I feel.
So yeah, so it now comes to the time where it's the healing part of the Pamper with Portia event. We have Lauren, her sister, Portia's sister, leading the event, and she's telling all the ladies to relax, to meditate, to be at peace. All the ladies are laying down; they're trying to take it in, but Shamia is sitting up, and she over there looking at Portia and just shaking her head, and just she couldn't get relaxed. Like she just could not fix herself to really be in one with the connection with Lauren spearheading this thing. She was pissed. So Kelly peeked up and she was like, oh, Shamia ain't, doing exercise. Let me go over there and check on her. So Kelly runs over to Shamia's little bed thing and she talks to her. And Shamia is pissed. She was like, I cannot believe my best friend of all these years is so comfortable to take in what an outsider says versus talking to me about whatever issue she's having. So Portia is hearing this and she's shushing them because Lauren is, trying to get them to meditate, but they were kind of being loud. So Shamia said, oh, I guess Portia can't be at peace either. She over there shushing us. And it was awkward. So they stopped the whole little thing, and pretty much it becomes a squabble between Portia and Shamia. And Shamia, no, Portia was like telling Angela, you had confided and told me that some things that Shamia confided in you about, you had brought to my attention. And Shamia was like, well, first off, I don't know what she could be talking about because I never confided into Angela about anything of our relationship or our friendship. Like, I would never do that. So the fact that you believe Angela and not coming to me shows a lot. And Angela's like, well, Shamia, you told me she didn't come to your wedding. Like, how else would I have known that? And Shamia said, the world didn't know. The world knew that she didn't come to my wedding. What are you talking about? It was on TV. And I said, yeah, Angela, this is what makes me question Angela. And I think this is what made me say, yeah, Angela, I really don't think Shamia told you that. I really don't. I think that you knew that, and you knew that that would bring a wedge between you, because what else, like, why would that be a situation when Shamia's wedding happened years ago? Now, could Shamia still be feeling a way about it? Yeah, yeah, she could be. But like Portia said, I did come to one of your three weddings. I was at one of them. So, I mean, forgive me for not being at all of them, but I was there at one of them. And we had gotten past that. Like, I thought we were good on that. And Shamia's whole gripe with Portia, and what Portia is not seeing, is Shamia is saying that I never would let anybody drive a wedge between us or allow them to say something about our friendship that I know is not true or not in solidarity. So how dare you take her word against the solidarity of our decades long friendship? And Portia's just quiet. Portia's like, I'm the bad guy. I'm the bad guy. Just being condescending and crazy. Because in true fashion, what Portia should have done is stood up, grabbed Shamia and said, let's talk in private real quick. And tell her how she really feels. Like, to me, I kind of felt like Portia at least owed Shamia that, versus letting Shamia get more visibly upset and more blindsided from all the other women knowing things that Shamia should have known. That's how I felt about that conversation, Mrs. Best. How did you feel?
Um, Portia ain't that girlfriend. Now she has a reason to know it, a reason to see it, a reason to accept it, and the whole discussion is tired. Nobody should have meddled in their business. But again, all of these women can go. I am not entertained.
It really is sad to me when you think of a friendship that has been formed since the 90s. It's really sad to see other women be able to drive a wedge in between that. And it could be to their own detriment. Shamia could have told Angela, I feel a way about the song. I feel a way about my wedding. I feel that Portia does not show up for me, which I do think that Shamia said some of these things, but I don't think it was the wedding thing. I think Angela pulled that out of her ass. I really do. I think Angela pulled that out because she knew that that would be something that would get Shamia upset. But I do think that Shamia said something about the song. I do feel like that. And I do feel like Shamia may have, trembled on always going to bat for Portia and then not being reciprocated when it came to Angela and Portia shit. Because I feel like Portia could have said, well,
It's not a may have. They literally showed a scene with Shamia telling a lot of these things to Angela. So that's what made me annoyed with Shamia. You said these things, now they come out, you get mad. But I feel like this is why people should not get involved in relationships that have been going so long. But I also feel like if this is what it takes for Shamia to see that Portia's not her friend, then please let it be. Because it's better to get it out now. And if this show somehow comes back for another season with these same cast members, then maybe next season can actually be about Shamia instead of her talking about Portia. Because Portia knows what she's doing. Like you said, James, if that's your close friend, pull them aside to talk to them. Don't address it in front of everybody. But addressing it in front of everybody gives Portia more camera time. She can't film Simon. She can't say shit about Simon. She can't film in her house. She don't want nobody to film with her baby daddy. So I feel like this is a way for her to get camera time. Portia's using everybody else's issues with her, beefs, as a way to be relevant because she's not able to show us shit. Bravo should have hired someone who was able to show us shit. Because I'm not surprised that Portia's a bad friend. I'm not. And I'm not surprised Shamia reacted the way that she did either. So I'm just like, okay, what's next now, heifers?
What's next? Because I don't know, but it is sad to see this friendship go the way that it did. But not all friendships are meant to last forever. But the problem that I have with this is, once again, I'm more leaning towards Shamia's side than I am Portia's, because I do feel like Portia is giving Shamia her ass to kiss, and I feel like it's underlying jealousy. I really do, but it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Let me read this comment. Is she under a gag order or something to talk about salmon, or she just don't want to? No, she's under a gag order. At this point of her filming, she was under a gag order. Remember when it came to um, what was going on between them? He was sending cease and desist for her to film at the house. He was doing cease and desist for her not to film in her car. The Rolls Royce that we see her driving in all the time. There was a gag order on that. He actually was supposed to get that car repossessed, but something tells me that car's in Portia's name and she took over the note. So he can't get it repossessed. So I that's how I feel about that. So I don't know. Because a lot of people like, ain't that car repossessed? She still drive it to this day. I just saw her recently in it. So I know she still has it. So that's why I'm like, it's a weird it's I don't know what his lawyers are about, but now that he's been detained by ICE, he can't do nothing now. So you lost, buddy. Sorry. I feel like you're gonna lose when the divorce is final too. I do. I feel like that. I think that everything Portia acts stupid. She doesn't have a storyline, so this is her grasping at straws. But it shouldn't be at the expense of her best friend. I don't think that that's right. I don't think that that's fair. I think that that's crazy that she would allow this to continue on like it is. Um, Shamia is getting a wake up call. At this point, we just watching their friendship crash and burn, eating popcorn the whole time. We really are. But I saw this coming. I knew that this was coming, and I said this when I had did my premiere party with me, Shana, and Mrs. Best. I feel like Shami is gonna wake up because Portia has been playing in her face this entire time. So I feel like she's going to now put the pieces back together and kind of say, "Oh shit, Portia really is like not really riding for me the way I thought she would." And we've seen this from years from Shamia writing for Portia. Like we saw that situation with, I remember that situation with Kenya season 10 when Portia sent Shamia over to Kenya's event because she was doing her own event, and how Kenya gave Shamia the side treatment, and Shamia confronted on Portia's behalf about this whole situation and made Portia look innocent. When remember it was Portia who sent Shamia in the first place. I would never send my best friend. She just would have been at my event the entire time. So I don't know. It's strange. It really is a strange situation. It's a strange friendship. I feel like yes, like Mrs. Best said, it's never gonna be what it was. And I think that there's a part of Portia that wants the life that Shamia has and thought she had it, but realized she didn't. So, it is what it is. So other than that, there's not too much that has happened. We end with not knowing where this friendship is going. I know that Shamia was on Watch What Happens Live, and she said that her and Portia have still not reconciled. They are not as close as they used to be. I do know that they're at a lot of events, at the same events, but I don't think they show up together. I think they show up very separately, and it's unfortunate. I hate to see a almost 30-year friendship be thrown away just because of a TV show over some money. So, Mrs. Best, anything you want to add before we end the live?
The only thing I'll add is I think Bravo needs to stop bringing people on, specifically the housewife franchises that have these long-standing friendships, whether it be siblings, family ships. Because you look at New Jersey, the families, that didn't work. You look at Beverly Hills, Kim, Kyle, then you have other friends of there, that didn't work. So sometimes it's good. You said this a lot with Summer House Martha's Vineyard when recapping it, to just get a bunch of people who do not know each other,
Yeah.
because then it's more authentic and the shade is lighter and we don't get into all of these like deep issues and topics and stuff. But other than that, you're doing a great job recapping this foolery.
It's hard to do it because as I said, I went into this, and all of y'all can attest to this. I went into this being 100% on Shamia's side, no matter what the circumstances were. I did not care. I love me some Shamia. But now it's kind of looking like, well, Shamia, you kind of put your foot in your own mouth, sis. I can't get you out of this one. Because I kind of feel like as much as Portia is to blame, so are you. And I feel like the fact that you won't take your power away from Portia is what's crazy about this whole scenario. Because you have the it factor, sis. You have the wherewithal. You have the husband she wants. You have the house she wants to be in. You have everything that Portia has. And then instead of you recognizing the jealousy, because now you're on this TV show as a housewife, the same as her, and everyone takes a liking to you except when you're with her and defending her. So I want you to understand that truly she is the detriment of your demise on this show. I want you to recognize that. But she probably won't because the love is still strong there. You can tell. The love is still strong with her and Portia. And it should be. It should be.
Well, you know someone that long. I have friends that I've known a long time. I actually met James through a friend of mine that I've been friends with forever. And it's I get where she's coming from because you want to defend that person, especially against the world. But we have to understand that the same values that we practice when it comes to our romantic relationships, like a girlfriend, a boyfriend, fiance, wife, husband, are entirely different from the values that we would practice and demonstrate when dealing with friends. I feel like Shamia is attaching loyalty in Portia to how you would attach it to family or a spouse when she doesn't need to do that. So hopefully she figures it out. But if we have to keep one and get rid of the other, I'd keep Shamia over Portia.
I would keep Shamia over Portia too. I would keep Shamia over Portia just because I feel like Portia is not going to give us anything but her ass to kiss, and I'm not for that right now, or at any point in my life. But I just feel like somebody has to go from this cast, and the fact that they about to bring Phaedra in, I'm just like, oh, here we go. Here comes some more bullshit, y'all. I'm telling y'all, I
How
don't.
Phaedra get the ad with the cheese it snaps, and she's still not here, and the season damn near over.
She coming. And I'm just saying, like, it better be good, Bravo. This better be the best shit since sliced bread. Frazier better bring everything known to man. Like, I want to see, like, the type of entertainment I want to see Phaedra in, like, this what she bring, is that pillow talk event that Nene had where Apollo was fighting everybody. That's what I want. That's what she better bring this season. If she don't bring that, then we can hang up Phaedra. She was better on Married to Medicine, at least in my opinion. That's all I'm saying. But anyways, y'all, that was it. That was Real Housewives of Atlanta. I am going to do an updates video. I still need to watch a few things so I can give you guys, a great show. We will be on Mrs. Best channel tomorrow for Basketball Wives. Make sure you guys are there. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. If you're not subscribed to me, please definitely do so. And we will see you guys tomorrow on her channel. Don't be late now. Make sure y'all there in the comments because it's Basketball Wives. We go in. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.